The short course has progressed well over the last few months, and we're now at a point where all the holes have been shaped and drained and irrigation's underway. So we felt it was the perfect time to do a drone flyover to provide members with a glimpse of what to expect when the holes open. This first view is taken from just behind the 19th, and in the foreground is the large practice putting green, which connects through to the 9th as a double green. The ground then flows straight to the first tee and all maintained as fine turf. Putting green will likely have a little more undulation than the greens on the course, with plenty of interest and contour to make for some fun putting. The opener is designed to get the round underway without too much trouble in the way of hazards. The bunkers around the left side of the green are as much to help visually soften the mounds, which we created to help screen the boundary, as they are being a strategic hazard. To the right of the green, short grass will extend across towards the 9th hole and to the 2nd and 9th tees. This green is a double with the 8th, which sits just behind. A bunker and a ridge help separate the two. The green is classically Kingston Heath in style, with subtle internal movement and just a few rises and falls at the edges. Short grass extends across from the 1st and 8th greens to the 2nd tee. And like all the tees on the short course, they're really just an extension of the fairway, as opposed to looking like obvious teeing grounds. We've previously talked about using great holes or great shots from under 100 metres or so as inspiration for the short course. The second here borrows a little from the great and quirky 12th hole on the old course at St Andrews. We opted to leave the tee shot bunkerless, but certainly the idea of the green here is very similar. A very easy to access pin at the front, but far more difficult shots to any pin on the top tier. We also made sure that where the green falls away is also pinnable, which makes for a fun and quirky alternative. At the third, undulating ground and short grass again create the interest, rather than formal bunkers. One of my favourite pitch shots at Kingston Heath is on the 7th of the main course, and this hole certainly takes some inspiration from that shot. Uniquely, it becomes harder the shorter the shot is, because you can no longer fly it onto the surface of the green and expect to stop it. Therefore, you start looking short to bounce your ball on. Some might choose to get the ball running quickly with less loft, others might try and land the ball in the hollow just in front, or maybe even try and drive the ball into the slope. Downwind, it can become particularly tricky. In terms of the green itself, we opted to tilt the green away from the player on the tee, to place even more of an emphasis on landing short and bouncing or running your ball onto the green. In some ways, this is a little like Royal Melbourne's famous 3rd hole on the West Course. A slight change to the original routing occurs here at the 4th, which now plays along the boundary rather than from next to the 3rd green. This helped make for a better looking backdrop and simplified the area at the southern end, with shorter walks and less crossovers as golfers walked from one hole to the next. The 4th is another where we decided to run a ridge straight across the line of play to help disguise the large ridge we built along the boundary, which is used to help hide the neighbouring properties. In this instance, we felt it was too good an opportunity not to build a couple of dramatic bunkers into the ridge, which golfers would need to play over, and it certainly makes for a dramatic looking pitch shot. By hiding much of the ground short of the green, it also helps create an illusion that the shot is shorter than it really is. The ground here tilts from left to right, so anything running left of the green here will tend to gather towards the flag. There is of course a forward tee here which doesn't require the carry, and this concept of giving the beginner or shorter hitter an easier alternative is a feature of all the holes on the short course. The 5th plays back in towards the main property, and with a very wide green it offers a lot of variety here, with an opportunity to even have 2 pins positioned each day. The choice as to which one to play to will be based on skill, the direction of the wind, or perhaps how confident you're feeling on the day. The left flag is made interesting with ground contour, a snaking ridge leading right into the putting surface, and quite often you'll need to land short and try and predict which way the ball might bounce or roll. Pins on the right require a completely different shot, a high lofted spinning pitch across bunkers and rough to a very small section of green. The 6th is another that can change dramatically depending on where the pin is located. It's a double green shared with the 3rd, and it's the largest green on the entire property, bigger even than the 8th and 16th on the main course. Pins on the right half sit in a bowl, so they're fairly easy to get close to the pin, especially if the right tee is used. From here, beginners can even use a putter to knock the ball up onto the putting surface, where the slopes will help push anything slightly offline back towards the pin. The difficult pins are of course on the left, especially from the left tee, and this requires a precise pitch across sand and heath, which visually is a continuation of the bunkers and heath from the left side of the 12th hole of the main course. We even added a very small section of green here at the front left, which is totally surrounded by sand and offers a fun alternative to use from time to time. albeit on these occasions it may be prudent to also have an alternative easy pin on the right side, given how difficult the shot is. From the 6th, golfers will walk to the eastern boundary and behind the 3rd green to the 7th tee. Members will hopefully recognise this hole, an ode to one of our favourite short holes in the world, Kingston Heath's number 10. Originally our aim here was just to copy the principles of the hole, but in the end we decided to pretty much build a replica, albeit 10 or 20 metres shorter. It's such a fantastic hole and green, different to the other 8 on the short course, as it's totally surrounded by sand and requires an aerial shot for everyone playing the golf course. The 8th green is of course shared with the 1st and plays back along the eastern boundary. Bunkers on the right are again used to help screen that boundary and make the mounds look a little more natural, while a large mound on the left helps frame that side of the fairway, and this will be covered with native grass and heathland plants. Like the 1st, the approach is left open to allow for running shots and not just an aerial pitch. The canny golfer can even use the slopes on the right to help push a ball into the left side of the green and get close to the most difficult pins behind the bunker. The final hole plays back towards the starters or halfway hut, which will be roughly placed as a backdrop to this green. This green still requires a little more shaping because it's the main thoroughfare into the property, so it's been difficult to finish. But the basic concept here is that it sets up a little like our great 3rd green, with a large bunker complex on the right side and a strong tilt on the green from back right to front left. The final piece of the puzzle here will of course be the halfway hut, the connecting paths, and this will become a terrific hub both visually but also functionally as it connects the golfers to the short course as well as the surrounding holes on the main course. It won't be long before the members will see the finishing touches added to the short course, with sand for the greens being imported this month and grass expected to start rolling out across fairways, greens and roughs in May. With good growing season, it may even allow the first few shots to be played in spring later this year.